Hello and welcome to Yoga with Kaila. So we're just going to get started. We'll start laying down on our mat. Planting our feet firmly. Let's just begin to bring our awareness to our belly, noticing our breath, feeling that belly rise and fall. Noticing the pattern of breathing that you have. It comes in through the chest, ribs expand, belly expands. And then as we exhale, it goes belly, ribs, chest. We're not changing anything about this breathing pattern, just simply noticing, being here with our breath on our mat. Placing a little bit of pressure into our feet, we'll just lift our hips slightly up off the mat. So we're just slightly lifted, not into a full bridge. And now we're going to take a nice inhales and exhales through our nose. And as we exhale, noticing your tailbone slowly unravel. Noticing the spine fall a little longer here in these inhales and exhales. If it feels good to you, you can choose to rock those hips out side to side, just noticing that swaying. If it's too much, keeping your sit bones lifted, you can choose to do this from flat on the mat. Again, it is up to you. This is your practice. And slowly unraveling that spine back down onto your mat. Taking the arms nice and long above your head, give yourself a nice long stretch. And from here, we're going to take our hands, and as we inhale, we're lifting our sit bones up towards the sky, our hands coming over to our legs. Exhale, slowly lowering down, unraveling each vertebrae at a time. Inhale, we slowly curl up our body, finding bridge. Exhale, slowly unraveling that ribbon all the way down. Continuing with your flowing bridge here, just utilizing that breath, going at your own pace. Does not matter whether you go fast or slow, this is your practice. And we're bringing movement and energy into the body as we warm up here. Let's do 2 more just like this. One more. Wonderful. And slowly lower down. Let's take those knees into our chest. And you can choose to find stillness, or you can choose to rock it out side to side. This is completely up to you. And we're going to extend that left leg out nice and long. Right knee tucks in towards the right shoulder. Flexing that left foot, calf coming down towards the mat. Breathing deeply, breathing deep down into that belly, allowing that belly to massage against that right bent knee. And on the next exhale, we lower that right leg out. Inhale, bringing that left leg up. Left knee comes towards left shoulder, grabbing on nice and tight, allowing our shoulders to relax down to the mat, flexing that right foot. Calf coming down with the mat, taking those deep belly breaths, breathing that belly into that left leg. Good, extending that left leg out nice and long, reaching up high towards the sky. Give yourself one nice big long stretch. And then we'll begin to roll onto that right side body. And then once we're here, we slowly make our way up. Let's find all fours. Planting our hands firmly underneath our shoulders, our knees underneath our hips. We're going to begin to inhale that left leg up high towards the sky. And we inhale that right arm up. So it's opposite arm, opposite leg. We're coming into spinal balance. We're going to flow our spinal balance into bird dog. Taking a nice deep inhale here. Exhaling our elbow towards our knee, rounding in. Inhale, reaching, extending wall to wall. Exhale, round, curl. Still utilizing that breath here in this warm-up. Controlling the movement with our core. Let's do one more. And slowly releasing the knee back down, the hand back down. Inhale, right leg lifts. Feels so good. Inhale, left arm. Feeling that extension, that lengthening through the crown in the body. Exhale, rounding elbow down towards our knee. Inhale, lift, extend. Exhale, round, relax. Good. Using that core strength, that yogi strength. Now, if this movement pattern is too much, you can choose to just hold our spinal balance. There's always lots of options. If you can breathe, you can do yoga. Using that breath to guide us. Let's do two more here. Going at your own pace. When you're feeling good, we'll plant those hands, press it back into a child's pose. We'll meet here in child's pose as soon as you're ready. So lots of options for child's pose. Forehead comes down to the mat. Arms can be extended long. They can be down by your side body. If bringing that forehead down is still a little too far for us, we can stack our fists, allowing that head to ground down. We can stack wrists, or if you had a yogi block, you could use your yogi block too. You can also choose to take those knees nice and wide or have them stacked directly over underneath your body. Extending those arms out nice and long. Let's inhale forward, finding kneeling plank. Coming into a mini flow here. Exhaling, elbows back towards our sides, coming down into crocodile. Heart center comes down first. Inhale up into baby cobra, using just that back body. Exhale, bending back, pressing back, child's pose. Let's do two more. Inhaling forward, using your own breath at your own speed. Exhale, slowly lower. Inhale, lift, extend. Exhale, pressing back. Finding that nice, beautiful child's pose. Inhale, keep flowing here forward. Exhale, keeping that heart center leading us down, belly strong. Inhale, lifting. Exhale, pressing back into child's. We're going to curl those back toes under, lifting those sit bones up high towards the sky. We find our first downward facing dog. Now, if downward facing dog is too much for us here today, we always have that option of coming into puppy with that bum high. So a lot like child's pose, but the bum is high, and this is puppy. So your choice, downward facing dog or puppy. Taking some nice deep breaths here. Lifting up our right leg up high towards the sky. Let's step it on through. Let's find lunge. Taking a nice deep lunge here, you have that option to drop that knee. We're going to inhale. So lots of hand options available here for you. Hands above your head, hands can be at heart center. They can be down by your sides or even onto those hips, completely up to you. You can be up in a full lunge. I personally prefer the kneeling lunge because I get a nice stretch through those hip flexors. So it depends on what you're looking for out of your practice here today. We're going to take that left hand down beside our right foot. Our right hand comes around to our right sit bones. We're going to twist towards that right knee. And then if we'd like, that arm can come up high towards the side. Finding twisting lunge here. Taking some breaths. Noticing the energy in your body. Good, bringing that right arm back to that right sit bone. We slowly unravel that chest down and forward. Taking that right hand down to beside our right foot, we step it back into our downward facing dog or puppy. This time, let's take that left leg up nice and high, swing it on through. Let's find lunge on the left side. So again, you can be in full lunge or down into that kneeling lunge. It is preferable to do the same thing to the other side that you just did. So finding that nice deep lunge, getting that hip flexor stretch, tucking that tailbone under just slightly, heart center lifted, any of the hand options that resonated to you the first time. Taking that right hand down beside that left foot, that left hand over to that left sit bone. We're going to twist belly, ribs, chest towards that left knee. Happy smiling faces. Once we're twisted towards that knee, we bring that left arm up high towards the sky. There's no requirement to come into twisting lunge. You can just try and stay in your lunge. Listening to your body, practicing kindness to your body. Wonderful. This is looking so good. Hand back towards that sit bone. We slowly unravel, bringing that hand down beside our foot. We press it back into our downward facing dog. Option to pedal it, walk it out. Maybe you move a little side to side. Notice what that feels like in your body. Practicing that lateral movement. Let's take that right leg up high towards the sky. Let's step it on through. We're going to turn and rotate that left foot to be parallel with the back edge of our mat. Cartwheeling those arms up, we find warrior one. Relaxing those shoulders down into the spine. So noticing if they're creeping up by your ears, we want to relax them down into that spine. Finding a nice strong warrior two. Arms are extended wall to wall. Noticing if that knee is pulling in or if we need to track it out. You want to make sure that you see the big toe on the inside of your knee. Now, if you're looking for more of a power style practice here today, you can go a little deeper into that lunge. If you'd like to ease off and take a little bit more of a slower practice, you can do that too. You want to feel that stretch down that left leg into that hip. We're going to drop that left arm down towards our left leg. Inhale, right arm up high towards the sky. Reverse warrior. Remembering our breath. Inhales and exhales through the nose. If it feels good to you here, you could practice that Ujjayi breathing. It's almost like a Darth Vader breathing. Sounds kind of like a snoring breath in the back of that throat. That Nice deep breaths that stimulate that vagus nerve, creating vagal tone within our body, allowing us to relax more throughout our day, throughout our practice, practicing de-stressing techniques here. So trying less to breathe through our mouth and more through our nose in our practice, stimulating our parasympathetic nervous system, allowing our body to relax into our emotions. Inhale back down to center, extending that right leg nice and long, tilting those hips, baby on the hip. Reach forward to get the cookies off the table, and let's cartwheel our arms, finding our triangle posture here today. Left fingers extending up high towards the sky, right hands down. We want to make sure that that bum isn't out. We want to tuck it nice and long under, as if you're being squished between two panes of glass. The floor is not a destination. Often we see people that like to drop way down to the floor. This isn't a destination, and often we lose part of the stretch and strength that we're gaining here. So rotating that hip open, shoulders forward, reaching up high towards the sky and creating a nice, beautiful triangle with your arm and your body here. Let's cartwheel those arms down to our mat, walking them along the long edge, turning our toes forward. Taking nice deep bend through those knees if we need to. You can play around with this a little, allowing those sit bones to rise up high towards the sky. And we're just going to begin to hinge forward, guiding through heart center. So you want to lead with that chest. Often what happens is we just kind of round and fold down and we get that rounding through the upper back. So we want to try and extend down, guiding down through our heart center. Reaching and grounding down, imagining grounding through all 5 fingers and all 5 toes. If you haven't already tried this, try and extend through each fingertip, spreading your fingers nice and wide, frog-like hands. Grasping the ground with all 5 fingers. Shifting our weight a little bit more into our toes, our sit bones rise a little higher towards the sky. We hinge a little further, bringing that forehead down towards the mat. No destination here, just a general direction that we want to travel. Noticing with each breath here, as you exhale, you sink a little deeper into your relaxation, into the posture, folding a little forward. Taking a nice deep bend through those knees. Let's roll up 1 vertebrae at a time. Stepping our feet back towards each other, finding mountain pose. Standing tall, grounded, shoulders relaxed back and down. Let's take a couple nice deep breaths here. Wonderful. This is looking so good. This time, let's try this on the other side. Stepping forward this time with our left foot. Rolling that right foot to be parallel with the back edge of our mat, extending those arms out side to side, we find warrior 2. Sinking down into our warrior. Now, we already know where we're going. We're looking for that big toe on the inside of our knees. Our arms are extending out wall to wall. Shoulders relax back and down. Heart center is lifted. We are strong warriors here, surveying our field. If you start to notice any anxiety or heart rates rising, bring that awareness back to our breath. Noticing yourself pressing through all 4 corners of your feet, grounding a little bit more into the universe. Dropping that right arm down towards that right leg. Inhaling, left arm up high towards the sky, coming into that reverse warrior, reaching up high. So there is no weight on that right arm. It's just simply resting on our leg as we reach up towards the sky. If it's available to us, we look up at our hand. Good, nice deep breaths, inhales and exhales through that nose. Maybe bringing that awareness back to that ujjayi breathing. That Darth Vader-like breathing with our inhales and exhales coming through our nose, in down through the back of our throat. Stimulating that vagus nerve, that calming portion of our body, that sympathetic nervous system, or parasympathetic nervous system, my bad. Inhale, arms back, down and forward, extending long through that left leg, tilting the hips, baby on the hip, reaching far forward, cookies off the table. We cartwheel those arms up high towards the sky. Looking for that nice, beautiful triangle between our arm and our body. So again, the ground is not our destination. Rotating open through those hips. So you should get a nice stretch to the top of the hip, as if you're being squished between those two panes of glass. Our bum isn't out. It's tucked nice and under. Being tall, strong, and grounded here in our triangle posture. Let's cartwheel those arms down to our mat, walking them along the long edge. Once again, let's turn our toes way in this time. Heels out. So toes are in, heels are out. Heart center is coming down towards the mat. So this might feel kind of funny in the outsides of your calves. The idea here is we're going to stretch all these extensors, the ones that we don't often stretch when we walk and run. They get a little tight and they tend to pull on the tendons and ligaments in our feet. So we're going to shift our weight a little bit more forward into our toes, feeling our sit bones rise up towards the sky. This time I'm going to let you round through that upper back, bringing that top of the head or the forehead down towards the floor. Using our hands to brace ourselves so we don't just topple forward. Shifting that weight a little bit more into those toes, noticing that extension, the stretch, the lovely stretch up the sides of those calves that we don't always get. Maybe you place a little bit of weight in through your fingertips, allowing those sit bones to rise a little higher, taking some nice deep belly breaths here. Great breathing. Let's walk our hands back around that left leg. Let's drop our left knee down towards the mat, turning our legs sideways. We are going to find pigeon, sliding that right leg down and back. So in pigeon, often what people do is they tuck that leg weight under their body and they're here. But what we want to do is we want to open up through those hip rotators in the back of the leg. So we want to bring that leg almost parallel, or what I call parallel-ish, with the front edge of our mat. We're going to make sure that we're not just rolling off to one side. We want to stack those hips in one direction. You could use a block here to help support yourself if you needed it. And we're going to rotate those shoulders forward. So hips are forward, shoulders are forward. You can stay up tall here in your pigeon if it feels good to you, or you can choose to come down, elbows down, and then we want to come down and ground that forehead. Again, you can ground your forehead, wrists, or stacked fists, or again, that yogi block. If you have a yogi block, it feels so good to ground down and forward there. And just noticing the sensations that arise here in this posture. Are you feeling some opening through the hips, through the front and the back side of the hips, possibly? Just allowing those exhales to help you sink more into your mat, to help those shoulders float down into your back a little deeper. Noticing those thoughts that arise and then letting them pass. Trying to stay present here in this moment, on the mat, in your body. We're not worried about tomorrow or yesterday. Just here today on your mat. curl those back toes under. Bringing our hands back up, planting them firmly. Let's press it back into downward facing dog or puppy. Option to pedal those feet out. Pressing back through that spine, getting that nice elongation. Let's take that right leg up high towards the sky. We'll swing her on through, finding that pigeon on the other side. So again, looking for that parallel-ish leg that's centered between the hips. Shoulders forward, chest forward, and we come right into it. Let's come on down. So use any blocks that you need to support those hips. You might notice that one side is a little tighter than another, and that is super normal. Often in yoga, we'll just stretch equally on both sides. So I do strongly recommend if you notice that one side is tighter than a normal, maybe you bring a little bit of extra kindness to that side. Maybe you stretch it again after our practice here today. Because if we just do it equally, then that one side's always going to be tighter. So we always want to stretch that tight side twice. Great job sinking down into your mat, allowing yourself to relax. Let's curl those back toes under, planting down through our hands, pressing back, downward facing dog. Pedaling it out if you need to. Wonderful. Let's go through a little mini flow here before we come down to our mats. So inhaling forward into plank. Option to drop those knees at any point. Exhale, crocodile. Chest coming down first, controlled. Inhale, baby cobra, getting that little bit of back extension. Exhale, downward facing dog or child's pose. So let's inhale forward into plank. We're just going to hold plank for a second here. Let's take some nice deep belly breaths. So you do have that option to drop down to your knees. Now, often in plank, I see people pressing back like this. You want to bring those shoulders over your hands. You should feel like you're peering off the edge of your mat, looking over the mat. Rounding those ribs slightly down towards those hips without bringing that booty in the sky. Pressing firmly through your hands. Has the shaking set in for you yet? I know it's starting to set in for me. Taking some nice deep breaths here. Can you guys see my shaking? Oh my goodness. This is so good. Exhale, slowly lower down to your mat. We're going to come up into Sphinx pose. So planting those elbows firmly. So this is a nice supported back bend here. So in our Sphinx, I want you to roll out through those shoulders. Being aware of how your upper body is feeling. Just working through that upper psoas line a little here. We stretched out our hip flexors or psoas muscles on our lower psoas line in our lunge today, but this is going to get that upper psoas line. Taking that pause, take a nice deep inhale, drop, exhale, press through our hands, heart center lifts. Noticing that extension in that spine so the elbows or shoulders are not by your ears, our elbows and shoulders are placed. Pressing down into our mat, pressing through all 5 fingers. Extending those legs out nice and long behind us, pressing through the tops of our feet. Breathe. You're doing a great job. Couple more deep breaths here. And let's slowly roll off to one side, swinging those legs around front. Oh, how good is this? We're doing so good. Okay, shaking out those legs, sitting up nice and tall in our staff pose here. So flexing through those feet, heart center lifts, as if you're trying to zip up your jacket. We're sitting up a little tall, hands down by our sides, shoulders rolled down into our spine. Hands are here, but they're not pressing into our mat. They're not keeping us lifted. We are simply doing this ourselves using that core strength that we have. So let's begin to walk our hands forward. And I want you to, again, guide through that heart center. So we're not rounding through that spine. We're practicing that extension. So you might notice that normally when you go into a forward fold, you tend to round, and maybe you going through the chest, leading through our chest, we're going not as far. And that is totally normal. So let's just lead through that heart center, stretching forward, using that yogi strength, flexing those feet back toward your face. And just noticing with each breath, bringing that awareness. Can I walk my fingers a little bit more forward while keeping that chest forward? Am I starting to round forward? Do my shoulders need to come back into my spine? Do I need to lead a little bit more through that chest? Wonderful. Let's walk those hands back in. Taking a nice deep inhale here. This time we get to round down and forward. Exhale, down and forward. So just allowing your hands to fall where they need to fall. We're not grabbing on and pulling. Okay, so allowing those hands to fall where they need to fall. Maybe your knees bend just slightly. Dropping that forehead down towards our knees. Feeling that stretch all up the backside of our body. Good, slowly coming back up and in. Let's bring our feet towards each other. Palms of our feet together, knees wide. Sitting up nice and tall, shoulders relaxed down into your spine. So finding this butterfly posture here today. Our feet are firmly together, but we're not pressing on our knees. We can take those our hands slightly behind us, lifting up through heart center. We're going to engage our glutes or squeeze our butt, and that's going to allow our knees to fall a little bit more open. So let's just squeeze those glutes a little tighter. Let's let those knees fall a little bit more open. Noticing the feelings that we're having, noticing the inner thigh stretch here. This feels so good. Couple more breaths. Good, and let's get that extension, planting firmly through our feet, fingers face towards our bum, as if we're in a crab walk position. Taking a nice deep breath, inhale, exhale. Inhale, lifting up through those hips, pressing up through those hands, coming into a firm tabletop position here. Take some breaths. So what I love about tabletop is that I get that nice stretch through those bicep muscles while gaining that strength in through my glutes, tucking my tailbone under, pressing through my heels, engaging those inner thighs. Lift, breathe. And exhale slowly down. Let's replace down. Wow, getting that sympathetic response. Let's couple it with a parasympathetic response. Curling those knees down into our chest, finding ourselves falling onto our back on our mat again. Rotating through that hip joint a little. Maybe we give ourselves a little figure 8 here, noticing how that's feeling. Taking some deep breaths, allowing ourselves to recenter, refocus down onto this mat. So when we take ourselves into that sympathetic or that stress response, such as in tabletop where it's a little bit difficult, and then we re-ground ourselves into a parasympathetic response. into something that we know and can trust, can control our breath. Helps us relax down here onto the mat. Practicing these techniques in our safe place here on our mat so that we can take these de-stressing techniques into the real world, into our daily lives and the spaces that we go. Extending those legs nice up, long, flexing those feet, hands fall down beside us. We find like a staff pose with our legs in the air. This here, my friends, is legs up a wall. Now, if you had a wall nearby, you could just simply place your legs up the wall and not have to hold it with your core strength. But this is half the fun, it's just holding it with our core strength. So these inversions send rich oxygenated blood through our whole body, in through our brain, flushing out our synapses. Let's invigorate our energy. Taking a nice deep bend through our knees, we're going to grab onto our feet on the inside, pressing down through our hands, pulling our knees in towards the sides of our body, dropping those shoulders down into our spine, extending up through our heels. We have this nice, beautiful energetic flow as we're extending through our legs and pulling with our arms, finding that happy baby. Feeling that nice inner thigh stretch, hip rotator stretch. Breathing. Finding that relaxation wherever you can. Bringing awareness to our thoughts, to our mind. What are we telling ourselves? What is the story? What happy messages are we saying to ourselves? How are we allowing ourselves to relax or enjoy this practice here today? Letting go of the outside world. Bringing our feet back down, letting them go. Let's plant them firmly down onto our mat. Taking a nice deep inhale. Let's extend up into that bridge. Getting that little bit of a different stretch here through those hips because we just rounded them forward. So let's extend them back, getting that opposite movement. And let's slowly roll down, one vertebrae at a time. Extending those legs out nice and long. Hands, palms turn up, shoulders roll into the spine. Palms are up for receiving energy or down for giving energy, for grounding down. Softening our gaze. For some of us, that means we close our eyes, bringing awareness back to the breath, back to that energetic flow in our body, allowing ourselves to check in and notice, how am I feeling? Coming here into Savasana, and I'm going to guide you into a body relaxation here in our practice. Sometimes our minds are a little busy and we find it difficult to relax. So let me be your guide. I want you to bring your awareness to your toes. Notice how your toes are feeling. With each exhale, I want you to notice that your toes get heavy and they start to curl slightly in. They want to fall down towards the ground. And that heaviness in the toes begins to creep its way into your feet, making your feet feel tired and heavy. And they begin to relax a little deeper, falling a little bit more onto your mat, onto the ground here in this space. Noticing your ankles roll open and each part of your calf starts to relax. starts to release and fall heavier. Noticing now from the knee down, your legs are very heavy, very solid into your mat. That relaxation, calm, and heaviness begins to creep its way up your legs. Noticing your upper legs and your hips are falling heavy and tired. They're sinking a little deeper into the mat. They're releasing any tension that they may be holding. We begin to bring that heaviness, that serene energy in through our abdomen, allowing our hips to let go, our belly to soften, our heart center to rise, our solar plexus to rise in that self-energy, that self-love, self-acceptance to rise in through that body. Noticing the light and airiness in through your chest. How it feels as if you're being rolled up by this loving, supportive balloon in through your chest. As your arms fall heavy, the back of your neck falls heavy. Your fingers unravel and fall heavy into the ground. Each muscle in your face begins to relax. You relax your ears, your forehead, your eyelids. Noticing all the way up through the top of your head, everything feels heavy, relaxed, at peace. Yet that heart center rises, filled with love, air, and light energy. Really noticing the kindness that we're feeling in our hearts, the love that we have for ourselves, for this beautiful life we've been gifted with. Just simply breathing here, taking advantage of this moment here on our mats. When you're feeling ready, let's wiggle our fingers and our toes. Start to notice that heaviness begins to leave, and in fact, that heaviness has been replaced with a light cloud-like floating-like feeling in through our fingers and our toes. And that floating lightness begins to rise up through our legs, through our arms, through our torso. We start to feel tingling sensation in the body as our body rejuvenates, recovers from our yoga practice here today. Extending that right arm up high above our head, we roll onto that right side body and taking a little moment here, as much time as you need. And then we slowly make our way up to an easy seated position near the top of our mat. Nice deep breaths. Thank you all for sharing your yoga practice here with me today. The light in me bows and honors the light in you. Namaste.